20 short break and then close it out.
11:20 is actually when I'm out. I'm sorry.
I'll take it. Mike Pence has said,
"We're tired of being told that this is as good as it gets.
we know it can be better than what it is right now.
Herman Cain.
Herman Cain.
Solutions for a better America.
All you.
This is your host, Herman Cain. Thank you for joining us because, we're going to tell you the truth. And today we have someone that is known for telling the truth. My special guest, live in studio on the Herman Cain Show, Republican Vice Presidential candidate Mike Pence, also governor of Indiana, former Indiana University law student, fellow Indianan because I was a Boilermaker. I think I better stop right there. Welcome to the show, Governor.
Thanks, Herman. It's great to be here.
It is great to have you.
Great to see you at our rally last night.
That was great.
Thanks for lighting up the crowd. I'm glad I didn't have to immediately follow you.
Don't worry. You held your own, okay? I wasn't worried for 1 minute because that wasn't the first time that I had seen you
Great
speak.
night. The enthusiasm in the room
terrific.
was palpable. Karen and I actually, there was an overflow crowd.
Right.
And so about the time that you were wrapping up your speech, Karen and I actually slipped out to the overflow room just to say hi to people and tell
was
them
great.
how much we appreciate it.
And, I noticed the overflow also after we sort of got into it, and I asked Brandon, one of your staffers, I said, it looks like we got about 800 people. And he said, we did have about 800 people because
right?
the inner room was packed. They had screens set up on the outside. So
It's really incredible. Donald Trump is always very quick to say, almost tells me every day that, this is not about him. It's not about us. This is a movement.
It is.
And people are drawn to his broad-shouldered message to make America great again.
Yes.
And I see it everywhere. I mean, I'm a B-list Republican celebrity, so
I don't think so.
It ain't me that they're coming out for. But to see 800 people come out and yesterday in Perry, we're going to be up in Dalton today. I mean,
Yes.
literally, when I'm traveling with Donald Trump, I'll be with him tomorrow in Arizona when I'm campaigning for Donald Trump. The enthusiasm, the energy, it just convinces me that we're going to have a great victory for the American people in November.
Well, I think you're sort of downplaying yourself because you have your own style, which I think captivates people. I've seen it up close and personal now that I've spent a little time with you, came to the rallies. So I think you're an A player, and I got to tell you, the more and more I see and hear of you,
You're very kind.
It was a very, very good, very, very good choice. Talking about these two agendas, before we get to that, because I want to focus on the big items, and I encourage listeners.
I'm excited to hear you're a Boilermaker.
Oh, yes, man. I spent 12 torturous months there. I got my master's in 12 months. I'm not bragging. It's just that they wouldn't pay me any more money.
It's not
to go
bragging
longer.
if you can do it.
I was able to do it in 12 months. It was called 24 school, man.
That's a little tough at Purdue.
Oh, man, let me tell you. In the Department of Computer Science.
Yeah.
But
my son's a Boilermaker.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, no,
Terrific.
he graduated actually in the flight program there.
Yeah.
And then went into the Marine Corps. He's a pilot in the Marine Corps now.
That is terrific.
But big-time Boilermaker.
That is great.
He'll be glad to hear you are, too.
I am. One of the questions that we've gotten from a number of people, especially because of this latest thing about some of the states' election systems being compromised, what can you tell us about voter fraud and election integrity, especially from your experience having still being governor of the state of Indiana, and what might some of the other states ought to be looking at?
Well, I think we all ought to be looking with great intensity and energy on ensuring it's a principle at the very center of the American experiment.
Right.
That one person, one vote. That maintaining the integrity of that is of paramount importance. And yesterday, with the FBI's revelations, that at least there's evidence that 2 states' data systems have been hacked. For whether it was collecting names or otherwise, I think now is a time for added vigilance for all of us to ensure that these elections are administered. But as I said yesterday, when I was down in Perry and then in Atlanta, people that are a part of this movement, people that want to see us make America great again, are drawn to the leadership that Donald Trump is expressing. I hope they understand that the ability to be involved in elections goes all the way through the administering of elections and being a poll worker, volunteering to work at the polls. The election is going to end on November the 8th, but it's going to happen one precinct at a time across this country. So people who are concerned about that, number one, we've got to make sure that states, and I'll be talking to our Secretary of State today about ensuring the integrity of our information technology systems that are impacted and could be impacted by what the FBI said yesterday, but just encouraging people to come out and be a part of the process of ensuring the integrity of the electoral process. One of the things Indiana did that I'm very proud of, we went all the way to the Supreme Court, was we were really one of the first states to have voter ID.
Hip, hip, hooray.
And I know that other states in Georgia and others have done that. If you have to have a picture ID to cash a check at the grocery store, you ought to recognize you ought to have a picture ID to exercise your franchise to vote. But in Indiana, it was upheld by the Supreme Court of the United States because we bend over backwards. It's not just a driver's license.
To make sure that you can get a photo ID.
If you don't have a driver's license, we facilitate that very easily, very readily. And it really is about protecting the integrity of the vote for every citizen, and not some of the things that have been said about it in the past.
I think that is much more critical than worrying about the security of the systems being compromised. Now, since we mentioned the fact that I went to Purdue University, here's what my major was computer science.
Right.
The cyber experts will get to the bottom of this. I'm not as concerned about that as I'm concerned about people going in and they don't have a valid ID. So I'm a big proponent of voter ID, and I'm glad to hear that you all were doing that in Indiana.
But that's also where I say this everywhere I go, because the American people are tired of the rigged system. I understand the concern that has been expressed about this being a rigged election. But the antidote to that is to be directly involved. I've only held 3 public offices in my life. I'm governor of the great state of Indiana,
right,
home to Purdue University. Right. I was a congressman for 12 years. It seemed longer, but I was in Congress for 12 years. The only other office I ever was elected to was precinct committeeman.
Wow.
But I always have that on the list because I want to encourage everyone within the sound of my voice today is find a way to be involved on Election Day, before Election Day, because in being there at the polling place is the greatest safeguard to our democracy, to ensure that you're there to be that poll watcher, to be that poll observer in either political party, and that's how we protect the one person, one vote principle.
Be absolutely right. You got to be involved. It's too easy to sit back and criticize and believe what the media is feeding people about. Your vote doesn't count.
Right.
Your vote does count, and you're saying be involved in the process.
Right.
When you gave your acceptance speech, one of the things that I remember most was when you made this statement about what the American people are tired of.
We're tired of being told. We're tired of being told that this is as good as it gets. We're tired of having politicians in both parties in Washington, D.C. tell us we'll get to those problems tomorrow.
That grabbed me.
Did it? Thank you.
I was sitting with my wife. We were getting ready to leave for the airport from a visit we had made to Virginia. You said a lot of great things that day, but that grabbed me.
You're kind.
Comment on that. The fact that the American people are sick and tired of being sick and tired of saying this is as good as it gets, because if you look at the statistics, we know we can do better than this.
Well, I think in many ways this election, what Donald Trump has tapped into is the frustration and the aspirations of the American people. And I do think, and I had that sense traveling around Indiana. Until I got the phone call from Donald Trump, I was running for re-election as governor of Indiana. And I had the same impression that people are tired of being told. They're tired of being told that this is as good as it gets, as I said. But also, I think that there's a part of Donald Trump's appeal is that people are frustrated with both political parties in Washington, D.C. When you emerged on the national stage, you gave voice to that same sentiment. I mean, we have $19 trillion in national debt.
Ridiculous.
I mean, we essentially have open borders and avalanche of illegal immigration in this country that has suppressed wages and on occasion brought tragedy to American families. We've seen America's place in the world weaken. We've pulled back on our commitment to our military and this lackluster economy. And yet we hear again and again, too often from leaders in both political parties over the last 25 years that well, this is as good as it can be right now, and we'll eventually get to solving those problems. The thing you know about Donald Trump when you spend more than 5 minutes with him, and he and I talk every day, we campaign together every week, is this is a decisive leader. This is a man that is, just as he's done in reaching out to minority communities in the country in the last 2 weeks, he's a guy that says, it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
We don't have to accept outcomes like dangerous streets and failing schools and lack of jobs and opportunities for too many in our cities. We can do better, but it begins by just simply having leaders that will provide the kind of vision and the kind of energy and the kind of expectation that matches the American people's.
One of the things that surprised a lot of people is that you and Donald Trump have such different personalities, but it appears as if styles, personalities, but you appear to have created a
he's bigger than life,
bond.
charismatic, and then there's me, right?
But you appear to have created this common bond over the big issues and what needs to be done. There isn't any conflict between the two of you there.
Well, number one, I couldn't be more honored or more humbled to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with Donald Trump in this election. It's really hard to describe. I'm a grandson of an Irish immigrant. It's really hard to describe what this means to our family. But we have different styles. But what I learned early on when we began to sit down and talk, even before he came to a decision, was we have the exact same vision for this country.
Right. We
have the exact same belief in the boundless potential of the American people and the importance of America being strong on the world stage. And so, while he and I have different styles, I really do believe that what's created a foundation for a great working relationship and frankly a great friendship.
Yes.
Somebody came up to me the other day and said I've known Donald Trump for a long time and I really like him. And I said, well, I haven't known him for very long at all, and I really like him. I mean, to be around him is to be around somebody who loves his family, who loves this country, and I believe this good man's going to be a great president.
Well, I happen to agree with you, and he was one of my pick six when this whole process started.
Is that right?
Yes.
Out of like the 17?
Out of the 17, I said on the radio public, I said, these are the 6 folks, and one of them is going to emerge as the nominee.
Wow.
And he got it, and I got to tell you, I'm very pleased with the choice. You still have a few people out there that really don't understand what the really big objective here is, and it has to do with the fact that there's a stark difference between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton and what it means in terms of these two agendas. 13 for me, Jared.
I understand that in the course of competitive politics, things get a little rough sometimes. It gets a little personal. But at the end of the day, this election is a choice. And it's a choice between two agendas, not so much as two candidates. And making sure people see that agenda.
I describe the Trump-Pence agenda as save our society. And I describe the Hillary Kaine, I can't even say his name because it sounds just like mine. I can't, the Clinton Kaine agenda as steal our society. That's the difference that we are talking about. But I want you to close on what you said above being a candidate for vice president, the 3 things that you are first that I've heard you say several times that's so impactful.
Well, for me, people who know me well, and it goes all the way back to my radio days.
Yes.
I was on the radio back in the 1990s, just in Indiana. It was a little syndicated show on about 18 radio stations. And it happened one day that someone called in and said, I've been listening to you for a while. This probably happened to you. But they said, I've been listening to you for a while, and I'm trying to figure out, are you a conservative? Are you a libertarian? Are you a neoconservative? Are you? Kind of came up with all these, and I said, I just thought for a second, and I said, I'm a Christian, a conservative, and a Republican in that order.
Yes,
and it stuck, and I've preferred that introduction ever since, and it really reflects the priorities in my life, my family's life, and the way that I've tried to I've tried to really pursue a career in the public debate. When I was on the radio, I mean, you're an important voice in the public debate.
Thank you.
In Atlanta and in this country, Herman, and I have an enormous amount of respect and appreciation for you. But my years in the Congress, my years as governor of Indiana, my hope and my prayer is that I've been faithful to those priorities.
Well, you have, and they called you and they wanted what you were, and you described it that way. But after 2 years on the air, I had someone call and say, "I didn't know you were black." I said, "I'm black, I'm conservative, I vote Republican, and I'm a Christian."
I love it.
Governor, Vice Presidential candidate Mike Pence, I'm so thrilled to have you with us, and I know the listeners appreciate it, and best of luck. And folks, I don't make predictions, but I'm going to make one. We are listening to the next Vice President of the United States of America. This is the Herman Cain Show. Thank you, Governor. Thank you.
Government and bad policy. The solutions are here on the Herman Cain Radio Show every day.
Coming up, your reflections on Governor Mike Pence. This is Herman Cain. Okay.